Father, we come to you in prayer, just so grateful for all of your blessings. We thank you for the ability to live in this great city. We thank you for all the volunteers, council members, various boards, the volunteers throughout the city, those who volunteer their time to make the city better. We pray for sound judgment as we make decisions that will impact our city. It's in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to allow staff to be able to speak first, and then we are going to invite public comments. So we're looking forward to hearing from the public. We would like to have our staff speak first, and then we'll have public comments. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to approve minutes from the April 16th regular meeting. Motion to approve. We have a motion from Mr. Trader. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Primos. Our system is not working this evening, so I'm going to call for a vote. Just kind of raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay. Motion passes. We'll now move on to discussion of our action items. And first, we'd like to have Chief White.
Sorry, that system is a little bit. Mayor, Council, thank you very much for having me today. I want to kind of go through the crime control district, crime control prevention district funding. There's some budgetary items that we want to discuss, but first and foremost, I want to give you some idea of how we got here today. I think you all know in 2022 we had a staffing study done. We went ahead and had a staffing study because I knew coming into the job that we may be a little bit behind given the growth we were experiencing at this time. So I think that was our best trade of action. So that's what we did. We hired a third party to come in, kind of look at call load, look at population growth, look at all of those things, run some data, and found out that we are in fact a little bit behind. I don't think that's a big secret to most people. But it was very strategic on our part because we wanted to know where we stood. But we also needed to know where we really need to go. So that staffing study, strategic study, was done and it was completed in May of 2023, which brings us to where we're at right now. I knew going into asking my boss, Mr. Daniels, for all the positions that are encompassed in that staffing study, that it was going to be a tough haul. I knew that knowing the third party who handed it to me, who said, Carrie, I don't know how you're going to do this. My response is, I don't know, but I'll find a way. So doing some research and crime control and prevention district funding is something I'm familiar with. I came from a city that has been doing it since 1993, which is, by the way, before my time. Not there in 1993. Before my time, but I'm very familiar with having to budget both a general fund and a CCD fund. So I was familiar with that. I reached out to a couple of my peers to find out how they were doing in our neighboring cities, because there are a lot of cities. And I think John hit on it last week. He talked about the growth and why the cities do reach out for crime control district funding, because of the growth. And that's where we're at today. So the premise of the PowerPoint that you're seeing here is solely based on that data. And like I said, it was done by a third party that does research and actually does doctoral students do most of that research and the work beforehand. So that's kind of where we're at today. The first thing I want to divulge to you is actually this has not been seen to the public yet. This is our new vision statement. We have been working hard lately, to make sure we come up with a good vision statement that encompasses what we want to do, not just what the data that I'm showing you today, but moving forward. They need a vision. And so does the community. The community deserves a vision. So that's what we have before you today. So the Forney Police Department welcomes and accepts the responsibility of improving the quality of life of all those in our community. We will work collaboratively with those in our community to provide a safe environment for all. We strive to accomplish this by upholding our core values of service, honor, integrity, and professionalism. Those are the things that we stand for. Those are the things that we came up with as a command staff. Our sergeants had buy-in on the service, honor, integrity, and professionalism, because those are the things I think we stand for. Priority 2, not so much. Priority 2, we're right about the 8-minute mark. We're hovering. We want to get that down a little bit. And that's really one of the goals of the program. And we'll talk about how here in just a second. Increase police officer visibility in neighborhoods, shopping areas, and our park systems. I think we all know that we want to develop our shopping areas and our park systems. We all know that. We're all aware of that. And it's coming, and we need to put people, boots on the ground, to control those areas. Right now, we don't have that capability right now. Maintain and update technology to improve efficiency, effectiveness, and enhance crime fighting and investigative abilities. Promote collaboration and increase trust with our citizens, and demonstrate proactive, progressive, and preventative policing at all levels of the organization. That goes from me all the way down. How do we do that? So let's look at low response times. Population growth, increased economic growth, and road construction, whether it's here or it's about to be here, is going to be an issue. Okay? The growth here, the growth of everything that you see on the bullet point number 1 there's a causal effect with how many accidents we actually have in our state. I will tell you, between running numbers between 2021 and 2023, we went up nearly 100%. Okay? That should be no surprise. I mean, we know traffic is not great around here. We know that construction is needed. Okay? But anytime you look at it actually, you should look at it from our perspective. I'm pulling assets and resources to respond. That takes away people from other things in the city, but it also clogs our arteries. I can't get there fast enough. So one of the reasons why I put traffic on here is very important, is the goal is to actually have fewer traffic accidents. That's the goal. The goal is to increase patrols throughout the high traffic areas so that we can have a positive effect on the accidents that we see. I need people to do that. That's how you do that. We need traffic sections to do that, let's be honest. They don't have that right now. Okay? So those are the things that we're going to try to do to meet this goal, is improve on the traffic routing. So increase police officer visibility in neighborhood shopping areas in our park system. We accomplished this by implementing geographical policing staff strategies. I know some of you already know what that is, but for everybody else, that's assigning an officer to each geographical area within the city of Forney to increase the visibility in neighborhoods, to include those districts, all districts or beats, so excuse me, where there are shopping areas and high, a lot of population growth. That's where we're going with this. So if you look at the diagram, it's a terrible diagram. I apologize. I try my best to put it right there. But there's different colors, and it actually looks like the city of Forney is kind of quadranted off into four districts. That's what we're shooting for. So this project started over a year ago, and it started with gathering data on how many calls are in each one of these areas. What's the best way to divide the city? What's the response times? What is the length of the investigation when officers are on scene? All of those things are factored into what that map is that you see right there. So the goal and objective is to provide an officer in each one of those colored districts and a rover to kind of go around in case someone needs backup. That's going to cause, that's a lot of people, to be honest with you. Because people have holidays and vacations and time off that we've got to commit to. Right now, I don't have enough folks to do this concept. But this right here is the cusp of community policing. And that's the direction that we're going. Maintain and update technology to improve effectiveness, and enhance crime fighting and investigative abilities. So to give you some idea, I think we all know December into January, we had violent crime activity that happened in a short duration. Okay? That caused a lot of concern, and it's valid concern, and I understand that. We are very fortunate in that the assets that we did have, to include all of our criminal investigations and our detectives, street trials task force, and all those folks kind of helped out. So we came to a good conclusion on this. But in the end, a lot of the tools, technology, all of the things we needed to solve those crimes, we had to go elsewhere for. I didn't have any of that technology here. We either reached out to Coffee County, or I reached out to the network that I know in DFW and asked for their help. Those are the equipment pieces that we use to solve both of those crimes. We were able to do that with their promote collaboration and increase trust with our citizens. So here's how we do that. It's several things, really. Increase our community engagement activities. For example, our volunteers with police service. That's a vital part of community engagement. Provide ways for our community to get involved in crime fighting, citizen on patrol. We have that too. Educate our community on ways to prevent crime by environmental design. There is an actual program that our community services officers will do that is labeled that. And we'll get into that in here in a few minutes. But also increase our youth engagement activities and programs. I wish I could have done it as soon as I got here. The reality is I just didn't have enough people to do that. But we wanted to. The Junior Police Academy and Police Athletic, I think that was mentioned the last time we were in discussion as well a couple weeks ago. But the Junior Police Academy is pretty much planned already. I already know what I want to do. We've already done research. Just don't have the time or the people to do that right now. But of course, increase our social media presence to ensure the community stays informed and engaged. I think you all have probably noticed, the community's probably noticed that we're trying to do that. We now have a policy in place where I only have some people that post, including myself. So when we post, that post becomes ours, and we monitor it the entire day. So if you see us being more interactive, that was an order on my part, and they all know that we need to take some time to do that. So it really wasn't an order. It was, hey guys, let's start doing this better. And they did very well at that. And I think for me, I enjoy that when I have time to do it. I enjoy interacting with them. And it's important that I do that. So you see that. You also see now our monthly report, right? Every 15th of every month, I'm sending out all the data from the month before. The community deserves to know that. The community should not have to open a records request to find that data. And that's what I knew when I first got here. You guys figured out a way to do that. A lot of agencies do it, and I thought, man, that's pretty cool. So we started that in February. We posted January's data. So every 15th, we have that set to go out, but previous data. Currently, we are working on our very first report to police department that I can tell, anyways, an annual report. So what does that annual report do? It's going to give you crime statistics. It's going to show you what your police department does. It's going to describe what a SWAT team does. It's going to describe what a drone program does. It's going to describe what your bicycle unit will do. It's going to describe all of those things and photograph, and it's going to be a good thing. I'm just tweaking it at this point. Just know, typically, agencies send that out in the month of April. I say the month of April because some of the crimes that are reported need time to catch up in the Texas state system and in the FBI statistics. So you kind of wait halfway through, I say halfway through, just about halfway through the year to do that program. Ours is a little delayed because I'm being really kind of meticulous about it, and I want to make sure our first one is great and it looks good. But the public needs to hear that. The public needs to see that. They need to see those statistics. So that'll be coming too as well. Demonstrate proactive, progressive, and preventative policing in all levels of the organization. So we also establish crime prevention programs for the community to be preventative in how they secure their home. One way that we did that here recently, our neighborhood security camera program, we did have that existing a few years ago. For whatever reason, it kind of petered out a little bit. It didn't have enough activity, so we refurbished it, sent it out. Zach sent it out. Redid the website, did the mapping system now, so that everybody who wants to register their camera can, not just the city limits. Because we know crime doesn't just happen in Forney, it happens all over. And if a crime is committed in Forney, the suspect may be going to Constable, Precinct 2's jurisdiction. So they'll give me their cameras. The more, the merrier. And that's what that program is doing right now. We just started that Friday. Community Connect. So what is that? We're working on a software that is built into our CAT system that will allow the community to take a look at what's going on in their neighborhood. So for instance, if there's a car, I call it a unit, but if the police unit's down the street and you want to know why they're down there, understand that the Community Connect will tell you in a very brief description, because there's privacy things, prestigious things I need to worry about, that I can't divulge, that will give them an idea. If they hover over the map, find that, and it'll give them a general description of what's going on, like a disturbance, certain things along that lines. We are tweaking that right now. So we're in the middle of kind of delaying that program limit so we can get more staffing to kind of really dive into it and do that. But the premise will be, there'll be a delay on it. So there'll be a couple of, just for safety reasons. So there'll be probably a couple hours of delay before they're able to do that. But that's important too, because people on social media want to know what's going on when they see a police car across the street. my previous city, I know Mr. Yannis and I spoke, and it was done in Fort Worth, and it was very successful. The more businesses that come, the more we need to help educate what is needed to prevent crime, and that's pretty important. We want innovative ideas throughout the organization by exposing our employees to different education and training opportunities. So I need them to look outside the Forney to understand policing styles and philosophies throughout our organization. Okay, that is the goal here: is to provide them that training outside of this area, so that they know new strategies, so they understand innovative things that can come back and potentially work here in Forney. Because as we grow, we're going to need those innovative ideas, and I can't give them to them by myself. I need them to be exposed to some of that stuff, and that happens through training. So, what will be funded if passed? Okay, depending on what we decide on, these are the things that are going to be, like, we're going to start targeting, right? Personnel, so that's salaries and benefits will be added to the organization. For patrol officers, traffic officers, detectives, for example, narcotics detectives, and specialized positions. I say narcotics detectives because that's a necessity for now. That's a problem that's growing, and I need detectives that are specifically trained for that avenue. Professional standards lieutenant. So what does that particular lieutenant do? He does all the accreditation. The state, the legislature tried to pass it this year, but we were bound, meaning law enforcement, bound to be accredited by 2026. That did not pass. However, when they do that, they're telling you it's coming. So the idea will be for that person to get that all organized and ready to go. And that's a chore. When you reach out to TPCA, which is your Texas Police Chiefs Association, that generally takes 2 years in advance to start that process. But it is something that's a necessity in my eyes. That professional standards lieutenant will also take care of all internal affairs investigations. That'll be a part of their assignment. There is in the International Association of Chiefs of Police, there's research that says professional standards lieutenants that do internal affairs investigations should in fact hold the rank of at least a lieutenant in mid-sized agencies. And folks, we're 2 people away from distinguishing us as a mid-sized agency. Telecommunicators, I think there's always a need for that, and I think you all know that too as well. Community services. Right now, we have a cash match to that particular grant. CCD, this is what CCPD, excuse me, will take on that cash match, take it away from the general fund, and also as we absorb those positions in 2027, I believe it is, that is where we're going to pay, where we would want to pay their positions out of, not the general fund, but out of CCPD. Additional expenses come with adding personnel, obviously. As you add people, you need to train people, you need basic academy times, uniforms, equipment, all of that will also be funded as well. I'll talk about equipment a little bit, and of course, here are some examples of what I envision if we're fortunate enough to have CCPD. What we now are paying that will move over. Your radio fees, there's quite a bit. We've had a budget for in 2025, $104,000 to maintain our radio system. So that's a big chunk of money. I think we all know that. So that all of your Motorola GMRS fees, which is the radio system that we belong to, will come from CCPD funding. NCT 911 fees. Pretty sure you all know we had 2 911 lines that NCT 911 gave us. I had to advocate for a third and go to appeals court to get that third, but that also meant that I had to pay for it. But I believe we need it. So I believe wholeheartedly that we need that. 2 is not enough. We needed 3 911 lines. That funding will be responsible for paying that chunk of money, which is about, I say 30,000, but it can change with inflation. Up-to-date investigative equipment tools. I've had to seek grants for some of those investigative equipment tools, one of which has a cash follow-up, I should say. So it's a recurring expense, I guess is a better way to say it. It'll give me the program, but I'm going to have to reoccur that cost to keep it going, which is about a $40,000, $30,000 type of purchase. And of course, up-to-date patrol equipment and resources, specialized equipment for special assignments. We are certainly looking for more bicycles. We want to kind of update our drone, make sure that we have everything that we need, because sometimes that technology fades away and we find ourselves behind and we're having to catch up a little bit. Traffic enforcement equipment. So what is that? That could be as little, that could be as a cone, honestly. I mean, it sounds mundane, but those things are very important for them to operate their job safely. Also, traffic enforcement equipment could be a speed trap. I've got one. I've got one for the entire city. And I try, I could split it you got people, you need cars. And those are the two things that my budget hits pretty hard every year, and people know that. So our fleet needs, the plan would be to recommend new vehicles and vehicle replacement plan. For example, new and replacement vehicles to control new traffic vehicles and their replacements as well will come from that funding. And of course, the overall purpose of that is to lessen the burden on the general fund. That's the whole intention, is to lessen that burden, because that's a big chunk of money. As you get new officers, you need new cars. And that's what the CCP will be funding with Ryan. I understand too. What we will do once if we get blessed with this money, like I said, is we are going to mark those vehicles so everybody knows that that car was bought or purchased with CCPD funding. I think that's important for the public to know that too. Okay, so we're talking about a little bit about the budget breakdown. Before I get into it, there was some research that I was doing this weekend that found that the possibility of pulling 3/8 of 1% was possible. So you don't have that in front of you in your packet. And that's my fault because I didn't actually find it in my research until this week. Okay, so you don't have that right now, but we're going to talk about what that looks like and how much. Of course, the budget breakdown I've done, you just don't have it right now. Okay? So we're going to touch on what that looks like for the budget. So, what are the resources that we gain, me as an agency and as a city, if we do 1/8 of 1%? Okay, so funding of 1/8 of 1% equates to about, now, where am I getting these monetary numbers, excuse me. So, Deborah Woodham, the finance director, gave us these numbers, so that's kind of where we're getting the monetary value to some of this too. So it equates to $1,070,000 to provide the following assets: 6 positions throughout the agency, 3 new vehicles for patrol and traffic, and also to help replenish the aging fleet. Partially funding community engagement events and programs, partially funding training requirements and continuing education throughout the agency. And of course, as I keep telling you, the objective is obviously not to hit the general fund too hard, so we're looking for other funding, and that's what it would do, is relieve some of that in the general fund. The next one, 1/4 of 1%. Funding at that rate would get us $2,140,000 to provide the following assets: 12 positions throughout the agency, 9 new vehicles for patrol and traffic, partially fund community engagement events and activities, partially fund training required for continuing education, and the intention, of course, is really the general fund. The big difference, obviously, if you look at the numbers, is position of vehicles between the two. The 3/8, this is the one you don't have in front of you. Okay? So the 3/8 would get us $3,210,000 to provide the following assets: 20 new positions throughout the agency, 10 new vehicles for patrol and traffic, not partially, fund community engagement events and programs, and partially fund the following for all new officers: training, specialized training, I've talked about that, uniforms, officer safety equipment, technology updates. And of course, that would be a huge relief to the general fund. And now half of 1%. The funding, that would equate to $4,280,000 to provide the following assets: think about other departments. The money that I take from them is money from the fire department, it's money from all areas of the city. And I have to be cognizant of that. I have to have a good perspective. And that's what I'm trying to show you all. Here is the possibility. Clearly, it's up to you and the voters to figure out what we're going to present to them. But that would give me what I would need is that 3/8 of 1%.
Thank you, Chief. Before we bring Mr. Thatcher up, I want to invite council to ask any questions.
Hey, Chief, I got some questions for you.
Sure.
So, I know one of our big hits is cars. What is the average age of our fleet?
We're 80 right now, so I'm going to give you mileage above that. So mileage is really what the gauge is, because when you hit 90,000 or above, you really should be rotating them out. At this point, and it has a lot to do with inventory too. So we don't have any vehicles that we just try to purchase too. But for the most part, we have probably maybe 40% that are probably at the point where we're probably needing to replace.
If you were calculating, how much is it costing us to maintain those right now?
Ooh, that would probably be a better question for Fleet and Kyle. He does a really good job of doing that for us, but, we had to put one to bed. I say that because it just blew an engine. So when it gets to a certain point, then those are the things that we need to factor in, and I don't have an answer for the monetary amount that would be.
But we've got a lot of downtime, I guess is what
Oh,
I'm
yes,
saying.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's my point. So we've got downtime. And these are some other questions I had. If you don't mind,
Sure.
40 for a minute. You were saying priority 2, we're at 8 minutes. Where do we hope to get that to?
Probably 3 to 5. That'd be fantastic if I could get it to 5. 5 is good. Now the bigger cities, I would tell you, their priority 1 calls are much higher than us. But ideally, I would love to get it to 5, at least that's kind of the goal.
And then, you know how I am about our shopping centers and people's homes, shopping centers purpose. So, when we talk, I guess I want to use the neighborhood shopping centers, are we looking at having officers that would be part of their patrol?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So they would be going through,
Whatever shopping center, whatever business is in your district, it is their job to make sure that they're patrolling those areas. Right now, unfortunately, because we're short-staffed, instead of having 4 people, 1 in each district, I'm lucky if I have 3. Right? So, we don't do a great job of that, really good for staffing reasons, and that's the reason why. But once you get geographical policing, that's going to be part of their job. Yes.
and I think that's important to follow up on, is because I don't think people realize that if we have an accident or somebody gets pulled away, we have on average 4 officers on each shift,
Yeah, I'm 5 of my
Covering.
Yeah.
the whole city.
Yes.
Is what people understand. So then I go to, we talk about the rover, then we go to the districts. So we have our 4 plus, hopefully, add 1 or 2 to the shift. Ideally, where would you like to be on officers per shift?
Honestly, I would tell you double. That would be 8. That would be fine.
So would you do 8 plus the rover in each district, or would that include the rover?
That would be 4 total for each district, 2 sergeants, and then 2 rovers. So 8 bodies. Excuse me.
Can you go into, I mean, having a background with the police, I understand the importance of community policing, and I think sometimes people see that as a fluff area, but I think people need to understand that, like you said, if we get ahead and educate on how to prevent, especially with the warehouses, things like that. In your experience at North Central Hills, how valuable was a crime prevention department?
To me, it was the most valuable because you can't do anything without the community, right? The maybe weren't exposed enough to cities that were growing at the pace that you were growing at the time. So without throwing anybody under the bus, we won't do that. I would say you're probably about accurate, to be honest with you. We're looking at about 10 years that we are having to make up. And it probably was because no one projected the growth. And when you don't project that, as a chief, you accept one person here and there every year. And I can't do that. We can't do it anymore. In this stint in December and January, I knew that. I knew that when it was happening. I did not come here for those things to happen in the city of Forney. I came here to find solutions so they don't occur. And I just need, there's assets and resources to do that.
Well, and I think that's very important because we can't go to the past. We can start right here, right now, and move forward. And anybody who thinks this is where I get buried, anybody who thinks it's not coming, it's here.
Yes.
Okay? This isn't a 2, 3, 5 year down the road. It's here. And this is where, as a council, as a city, we need to come together and figure out what's the best way. As you said, we don't want to take away and destroy anything.
Right.
But in the same process, we don't want our city destroyed because we're burying our head in the sand.
Yeah, and you're 100% accurate on that too. Anybody that asks me, or if I hear it, I don't hear it all that often anymore, thankfully, thank God. That's not the way we used to do it. I don't care. What I care is how we're going to do it in the future. And everybody in my building right now is starting to buy into that. Now we just need to give them the proper tools to accept it and move forward.
Mayor, if I could respond to a couple of council members' Senators' questions. If we're fortunate enough in next year's budget to get at least one additional code officer, that individual could take care of the turtles being sold on the weekends, to relieve police officers from more report work. And secondly, you had a question about how popular the program is. And I can only speak to the one at Fort Worth, but when it was initially implemented, it was for 2 years. And then the next time, the voters extended it for 5 years. And this last time, it was extended to 10 years. So it's extremely popular because people know that the program was implemented to target certain things and people feel safe.
Can I, as a follow-up to when I was in North Hills, when I originally started, I didn't know what CCP funding was. You don't know that until you start going kind of up the ranks of budgeting. We had CCP funding for 5 years, 10 years, and ultimately right before I left, right after I left, the one before for a 20-year term. Because that's how popular it was.
Any other comments from council?
When we were talking about crime prevention, because the EDC is so very important about knowing what's coming in, do we see a development where, and I don't know if you're working with them now, but where we can team together so that there's, I guess if the EDC knows there's somebody coming in and maybe it's a smaller business, they're not one of our big major ones, we open the lines of communication that everybody's talking.
100%. So one of the things I think I mentioned, I've been able to fill one of those spots in the crime community engagement section. I have one more spot. I haven't been able to pull Detective Clay because he's doing 10 other jobs. But when that does happen, you will start seeing that pretty regularly with them reaching out to businesses as they come into the city to say, how can we help you? What can we do to help before we start maybe even putting lights up? I mean, that sounds kind of mundane and small, but lighting can deter a lot of people from breaking into businesses. And that is one of the major things that they'll recommend is those type of things. So absolutely, I do envision that absolutely coming to fruition.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Thatcher up. Just kind of explain to us the process of what happens next after Mr. Thatcher. I'd like to invite members of the public to